Welcome to It Starts With Courage podcast with Kat and Jen. What is it? It's everything. Everything you want in life starts with courage.
What's up, Kat?
Jen Burns, JB. That's how I'm going to call you from now. JB.
A lot of people call me that. I have an awesome story for you this week.
Tell me. I like stories.
It's a real estate story, of course.
Okay. Naturally.
So, I get people online that just call me about different houses and stuff. So, last Saturday, it was a week ago, I met this lady. She called me and she was like, hey, I want to see these two houses. And so, when she told me the address, I was like, ooh, dude, these are like really nice houses. One was 1.2 million, one was 1.6 million. And I know in some areas of the country that's not a lot, but in South Louisiana, that's like way high on the price point.
I mean, I don't have just a mill to drop on a house.
So, the problem is, when you get up to that price point, sellers are wanting like pre-approval letters or proof of funds letters because
Makes
they're
sense.
like, yeah, because they're spending a lot of time getting their house ready for showings and cleaning and all of that. So, So I'm talking to the lady, and she's like, "Yeah, I want to see these two houses next week." Okay, great. So I was like, "Well, look, in this price point, when you get to like $1 million, they're gonna ask for a proof of funds or a pre-approval letter. Do you have one of those that you can send me? That way, I can get the showing approved." And she's like, "Well, I don't have a proof of funds, but I have the funds. I have $1.5 million in cash in a storage facility."
Pardon?
Yeah. And I was like, wait, what? She goes, "So I can't give you a letter, but if you want to come and look at the money, I can let you come and look at the money."
No.
And I was like, okay, no. I was like, you don't need to tell anybody where your money is.
Wait, this is still all online?
No, she called me. So we were
Okay.
talking, but that's how I met her online. So I was like, well, look, you can't just bring a briefcase of $100 bills to a closing and buy a house. Like, you have to have a bank account. You have to put it in the bank. She's like,
Right.
well, I haven't been able to get a bank. I don't have great credit. And I was like, I don't think having credit matters to a bank if you got all
The
this
cash.
The cash. So I was like, look, whether you buy a house with me or not,
Yeah.
I need to help you get a bank account because you really need one. And she goes, well, look, why can't we do it this way? Can I just give you the money and you put it in your bank account
Ma'am?
and then you wire it to the closing? You want to know what my response to that was?
What? Oh my God.
I was like, I think I said on the phone, hell no. No.
How does that make... That's
yeah.
you buying the house then.
No. First of all, I have a question for our listeners. Please get on our Instagram and tell me if you would take a stranger's $1 million and put it in your bank account and then wire it to a closing.
I think it's more like take the money and then...
Run.
Block them. Bye-bye.
Yeah.
But you know what? I mean, I can't... I imagine there's some people out there who just said yes. Not because they want to, but just because they lack boundaries. And
Or they're a people pleaser.
There we go. And what I love about that is the little clip you played is just no. And today I read something that said no is a complete sentence.
Yeah.
That is powerful. No is a complete sentence. No explanation required. When it's a no for you, it's a no. So I think today, naturally, after that hell no story, I would love to talk about boundaries and, as you said, people pleasers.
We need to title this one Hell to the No. N-A-W.
Yes.
No.
Set your boundaries. And I guess if you're out there, what is a boundary? I guess when we think boundaries, we think fences, we think hard, like a gate or drawing a hard boundary, but I guess boundaries are more like this invisible bubble that you have around yourself that tells people what you will accept from them, how to treat you, and essentially how to respect you, because they say a lack of boundaries means a lack of respect sometimes from people. So today I thought we could talk about that. Are you a boundary setter, Jen? Did I just call you Jet? I meant Jen. I don't know who Jet is.
I think in some ways I have good boundaries, in other ways I don't. You know, I would say that's probably true with most people as well. Like in some areas of my life, I think I do have like good boundaries. In other areas, I struggle a little bit. I know with my job, you know, real estate, you work a lot of nights and weekends naturally because everybody that can afford a house typically has a job and they're working during the day. And so when are they free to see houses, like nights and weekends?
Right.
And so naturally I probably have to work a little later hours or on weekends, which is not always fun, but sometimes I feel like I get to be friends with my clients, and then they like treat me as their friend, and they're texting me at 8, 9, 10 o'clock at night, and I'm like, dude, like I'm binge watching Netflix with my family. I don't like I'm done. So sometimes I do a good job of setting those boundaries and not answering the phone, but then other times you kind of feel like in this world that we live in and everything is like instant gratification, if you don't answer, if you don't respond, that you will lose a client or lose potential business because you didn't respond quick enough. So I think in my life, probably that's the area that I struggle with more with boundaries. Because I can tell people, like, I'm not a yes person. Like, if I don't want to do it, I'll tell you no.
Yeah. And I imagine at work, I think work's probably one of those places that's difficult for a lot of people to set boundaries, because either you're after that promotion or, you know, you want to be recognized for your work or whatever it is. But obviously setting boundaries can be relationships as well. Just socially with your friends, spiritually. One that I thought about on the way here today is also just culturally, how difficult, depending on what culture you're from, how difficult it can be to set boundaries in a situation where this is a cultural practice.
Yeah.
Right? So today I thought, I guess a good place to start off with is why we don't set boundaries, why we're people pleasers, right? And the first, I have about 4 points I thought we could talk over, which is number one, avoiding conflict. I think a lot of us don't set boundaries because we want to avoid that conflict. You don't want to be the person who riles up the feathers, and rather you sort of set yourself on fire to keep others warm.
Yeah.
You know, praise. It can be difficult, especially in the workplace, I think, where everything is about being recognized for what you've achieved, what you're doing, that when you know you're asked to work that, not even that extra shift, but do that extra work outside of regular work hours, you think more about the praise, that they're going to see that I did that I did this, that you forget to take care of your own mental health, you forget your home life, you forget just even your own physical health, working out, eating the right foods, because you're chasing after that praise.
We have that issue in my company, our workflow shop company, with our transaction coordinators. I always tell them when we bring them in, we say, okay, your hours are 8 to 2 Monday through Thursday. The first time that you answer the call or do something at 5 o'clock, or you do it on a Friday or a weekend, you've erased that boundary. You've erased that line. If you say, hey, I will get to this on Monday, and you toe that line, like the agents will comply and they will understand that that's a boundary. But if you're just trying to, I think we're trying, like you said, to we don't want to tell our customers no. We don't want to say we can't do that or we don't do that, especially if it's something that seems to them as like really easy that we can do. But it's not about the ease of doing it or not doing it. It's the boundary that we're setting to protect something, the greater good, right?
You're teaching them how
to treat you.
Value your time, and they can only have access to you during these certain times, and really it's your responsibility to do that.
Another story I have about that is like last year when I listed Brandon's parade home, they have a farm and he goes to the farm every weekend and he doesn't really answer his phone on the weekends. And so like I kind of knew that was a boundary. So I'm over here, working on the weekend and agents having questions and like, I tried to call him once on the weekend and like didn't hear back from him until Monday, and so
you got I got boundary for sure then.
So then like when agents are asking me questions, here's the list of questions, and it's a Friday afternoon. I'm like, okay, look, I'll have these questions answered for you Monday.
Right.
And so I found myself protecting his boundary because he made that clear to me that that's important. So I think like sometimes it can be hard to say no, but I think people do, we all struggle with this, so people do respect when you do say no and just say, hey, like I'm going to say no, and even though it is a complete sentence, I'm going to tell you I'm at soccer practice, or I'm cooking dinner for my family, or we're doing homework right now. So I'm going to catch you tomorrow. And then I feel like that sets a precedent in their mind that, that's why she's not available after hours, because this is what they have going on. So,
and you have a right to that life. I mean, I know so many people who talk about taking their work home. And when you take that work home, as you said, number one, you're teaching your organization or whoever it is that they can have access to you at any time, and that they are priority over your family life, your own personal life. So you have to set that boundary. It's up to you to let people know when they can't cross those boundaries. If it's that you turn off your phone, you turn off your this, I'm very much like that. I'll completely disconnect it from work, unless it's a case where, I don't know, there's a patient or something that you really, then, okay. Otherwise, if there's no need, there is no need. So we've gone, people don't set boundaries because they like the praise and they're avoiding conflict. Third one is, sometimes have you ever found there are people who always put themselves out for others? They are always there to help, not because they have the time or they have the means, but because their self-worth is tied.
Like they're the mortar.
Yes, to helping somebody. So if you're that person talking to you out there, it's your responsibility to set those boundaries. And often you also find onto the fourth point, people don't know what their boundaries are.
Sure.
Sometimes people don't know their boundaries and they can't recognize when they are being crossed, or they don't know to recognize the feelings that indicate poor boundaries or a lack of boundaries. And this moves me on to my next point, to just touch on a bit about what happens when you don't set boundaries, when you fail to set boundaries. And top of my list is that you fail to recognize when you're being mistreated and being taken advantage of. And I'm sure some of us, or we can all think of that one person where you look at their situation, you may have that friend that either has a friend or a best friend where you can really see they are not your friend because you are their friend. You do everything for them. They ask you to do this and you jump. You may have things in your life that you need to take care of, but if they say, hey, come and help me pick out a dress or do my hair for me or do this. You're that friend that just jumps up and goes and does it because you fail to realize when someone is mistreating you and taking your, what would I guess would say kindness for weakness, or do you know what I mean, Jen?
Yeah, and I feel like another thing is like when you don't set boundaries of your time, or I know when I moved back down to Baton Rouge and I was starting my business, and it took me about 6 months to kind of get the ball rolling, and then it started like picking up, and I started getting busy, and so I started getting all these clients, and so in my mind I was like, okay, I have to work with all these people. So then I would work all these nights and weekends, and then I'd work the next week and the next weekend, and so it would roll into like 60, 90 days of like working like every day.
Gosh, yeah.
And that not only did it take a toll on me, my mentality, but like just I was eating in the car, I was at self-care, just like no exercise, was just like work and stress, and so like I feel like if we can't, like if we don't say no, and we can't recognize when we need to say like, okay, I need a break, then so many other areas of our life can be affected by that decision of not saying no.
Yeah, you essentially end up abusing yourself because you agree to things that you don't actually agree with. You give up all your time, give away way too much of your time, and for some people you can end up in toxic relationships, toxic situations overall, and you're constantly worried about what people think of you, right? Or think about how you're doing things. So if you find yourself, listeners out there, feeling like this with some of your friendships, your work situations, maybe this is a sign that you lack boundaries and you need to set some boundaries, because as we said, a lack of boundaries can invite a lack of respect.
Yeah, and I think we can finish on this. Like, we were talking at work about like a Sabbath, right? Like God says you should take a day of rest, whether that is on the weekend, on a Sunday, it could be any day. And we were talking about it as a group. And for real estate agents, the weekend is hard. It's hard to take a day off. And so I'm kind of thinking like of my schedule, like how am I going to take a full day off? And so our company, we just started something new last week. Our Brandon, our broker, bought these packages of workouts to Orange Theory. Yeah. And so we had a private class. We had our first private class last Thursday, and it's from 10 to 11. And so it made me start thinking like, okay, well, if I go visit a friend who's been through a hard time on Tuesday and Thursday morning, so I can go visit her, and then just kind of like do a few things, go to the class, then have to take a shower, right? Yeah. By the time I take a shower, get something to eat, it's not that much time before I have to go get my daughter in carpool. And so like my whole point of saying this is like my thought was maybe I'll make Thursdays my Sabbath, right? Yeah. Maybe I can't take, maybe my boundary is like I can't take the full day, but if I can start by taking half a day. Yeah. And I can say Thursday mornings are my day to go and visit with a friend. Yes. Get a workout in, go maybe have lunch with one of my coworkers afterwards, and then like at least start till like 12 before I do anything really for work. Yes. And then like maybe after a month of getting that on my calendar, maybe then I can back it up to 1 or 2. Yes. And then eventually throughout the year, I can book that day and say, hey, I'm booked all day on Thursdays. And it becomes a little more natural. So I guess like my point in telling that story is that we're not telling you to go out like tomorrow and set hard boundaries in all areas of your life. But like try to figure out the one thing in your life where you feel like setting a boundary is going to give you the most bang for your buck.
Yes.
It's going to kind of bleed into different areas, and just set something that's doable, that's manageable. Like for me, taking that whole day right now is not manageable. But in my mind, taking half a day, knowing that I'm going to go work out with my friends and my coworkers, and then just having a lunch, that is a major step for me forward.
Yes.
So I would just encourage you guys to do that. And
if your boundaries include other people, communicate directly to them what it is that you're feeling, what it is that you need, and set that boundary. As the saying, it's not a saying goes, but basically allowing yourself to set boundaries is all about having the courage to say what you want and what you need without caring whether or not that person will like it.
Yeah. And
that's it, guys. Set
awesome
boundaries. Topic
today, Kat.
Woo-hoo. Great story. Hell no. That's it.
The end.
Thanks for listening to this episode of It Starts With Courage podcast with Kat and Jen. If you like this episode of the podcast, visit our website, iswcpodcast.com, for show notes and other cool things.